Buddy Hield, one of the best shooters specifically from deep in the NBA, but also someone that has been one of the most talked about players as far as the trade market goes throughout the last 12 to 18 months. There's been reports that he's been unhappy with the organization. There's been reports that the organization has been unhappy with him. And especially now, after last year's acquisition via the draft, Tyrese Haliburton. And he has shown how valuable of a player he is going to be. The future of the Kings backcourt is Tyrese Haliburton and De'Aaron Fox. I don't think anyone doubts that at this point. And if you do, you need to go watch some film on Tyrese Haliburton, because this guy is legit. He's not going to be your sixth man. He's going to be the starting shooting guard alongside De'Aaron Fox. And so I think even more so now than ever, Buddy Hield's way outside of Sacramento looks to be fairly clear. If it's not this offseason, it has to be relatively soon, so Haliburton can start getting these minutes. And Buddy Hield can be added to a bit more of a team that needs his shooting on a competitive team. We're going to be talking about why he could be traded in a bit more depth, as well as some of the potential places he could be traded within this video. If you guys want more off-season updates as the off-season continues throughout the NBA, then this is a great place to be. We'll be talking about any free agent signings, trade talks, and any trades that go down, as well as my thoughts on the draft lottery, as we are now only one day away, and all of my thoughts and recommendations I would give to every team going into this off-season for the draft, trade, and free agency. With that being said, like and subscribe if that is something you were interested in and you do enjoy the video. And so let's get right into it. Well, as I mentioned, Tyrese Haliburton and De'Aaron Fox is the future of the Sacramento Kings backcourt. They're younger. Of course, De'Aaron Fox is a de facto point guard. Tyrese Haliburton is not a young draft pick, but he is still there. He's 22, 23, I believe. He's still much younger than Buddy Hield, who is older than most people realize. He came into the league late, and sure, he's not old by any stretch, but he is now 28. He's not the spring chicken anymore. He always catches me off guard, at least at how old he is. Maybe that's just me, but he is 28 and a half years old now. He is aging, but he's still one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Problem being, he's not young. He's probably not fitting the timeline the best for Sacramento, especially compared to Haliburton. And he's making a lot of money. He is paid $22 million in the 21-22 season, followed by 20.5 and 18.5. He still has 3 more years left on his deal. And so he has this contract right through his prime. He's getting good money, but Sacramento probably want to use this money for somewhere else as they start to build around De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton. The only scenario in which Buddy Hield stays on the Sacramento Kings roster for the duration of this contract, in my opinion, is if Buddy Hield is willing to take a sixth man role. Tyrese Haliburton is not a sixth man, in my opinion. He's not an amazing creator or get his own shot type of guy. He's very good on defense and is just very poised, makes very good decisions, is a very good facilitator. I think he fits really good in a starting lineup alongside a main guy like De'Aaron Fox. I think that fit is better. I think Buddy Hield can be someone who can be a bit more of a sixth man type of guy. Sure, his shot creation has to be improved for himself. Lots of what he does is catch and shoot, but his shot creation has improved over the last couple of years to make his own shot. So I think that's something that we could see. However, from what we've heard from Buddy Hield over the last few years, his unwillingness to take a lesser role is probably not going to tend to him wanting a sixth man role. And that just probably leaves to him being traded, in my opinion. Let me know down below in the comment section why you guys think he wouldn't be traded, if that is how you feel. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to be traded this summer, but I'd find it hard to imagine that this time next year we're having the same conversation about Buddy Hield still being on the Sacramento Kings roster. I think he's dealt some time in the next 8 months before the trade deadline. That's my thoughts. Some of the possible destinations. Well, there's a limited range because he is making so much money. That's the issue. He's not really someone that tanking teams or bad teams are going to be interested in. And he's good as a very good scorer and spacer and guy who can hit a lot of threes on the catch and shoot on a good team. Problem being is a lot of these good teams either don't want to or don't have the money to pay him 20-ish million a year for the next 3 years, or purely don't have the assets to acquire him for teams like the Lakers and the Clippers that have used so much draft capital. And that's not to say that they still couldn't package something together. The Lakers, for example, could package Kyle Kuzma, Talen Horton-Tucker, something along those lines. Could throw Montrezl Harrell in there as well. They'll have a very future first round pick they'll now be able to trade after the draft as well. And so it opens up a few options, but they are quite limited. And so these are my few options that I think are the most likely, or not likely, I will discuss as I get to it, for a possible Buddy Hield trade scenario. I'm going to start with the two most likely ones in my opinion. The first one being the Boston Celtics. They need another scorer on this team. I think they do need more scoring depth. Now, the depth also needs to come in the form of the bench. It does not necessarily just need to come in the form of another starter. But Evan Fournier is going to be a free agent in summer. There's no guarantee that he is going to resign. And so it's very possible that we see the Boston Celtics being interested in adding a shooting guard to put alongside Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. This trade would most likely have to inquire or include Marcus Smart going to Sacramento. Don't know how much interest Sacramento would have in that. Marcus Smart's probably going to be a sixth man there. He's not going to be starting. And so I don't know if Sacramento have enough interest in that being the main piece of a trade, but maybe he is that guy who comes off the bench as he has for Boston in the past. He's that dog. He's very good defensively, and he could really be very impactful to winning and their defense on a team that could do with some improved defense, although that's not necessarily due to all of the guards' fault, because I think Haliburton and Fox's defense is quite good. Hield's defense is not great, which is one of the bigger issues with him. It's better than it used to be, but he's still not a plus defender by any stretch, but it's definitely the bigs in Sacramento that cause the defensive issues. But nonetheless, Marcus Smart is still a very good add. I think Boston would have interest. I don't know how much interest Sacramento would have, but I think it's something that Boston could be motivated to do, especially if Evan Fournier walks. One of the more interesting, and I think probably the most likely destination, although I don't find any of the destinations likely, I just don't think Buddy Hield's contract at that high of a value leads to that many teams being able to acquire him or be interested, or many of the teams that can acquire him being interested. My next up would be the New York Knicks, who I think are going to have a very active offseason. Of course, they have to. They only have 5 or 6 players under contract for this upcoming season. And Buddy Hield could be someone they look to acquire, considering they only have $56 million in payroll currently committed for next season. Of course, they have to fill out a lot of the roster still. But Buddy Hield could be that extra punch of scoring that they want. They have R.J. Barrett, they have Julius Randle. They will hope to bring back Derrick Rose, and he has expressed some interest in returning to New York and playing in Madison Square Garden again for another season. But someone like Buddy Hield could give them another scoring option. It gives them much more spacing and three-point shooting, which is something this team needs. His fit is questionable given that RJ Barrett has been playing the 2, but you could see RJ Barrett slide to the 3. I think he can play there quite fine. Defensively, it could be a bit of an issue against some bigger 3s, but I don't think it would be unreasonable to think that Buddy Hield could join the Knicks and play at the 2 for them. As far as what they would give up, that's a bit more in question. They just don't have that many players on the team right now. They could bring back Nerlens Noel and trade Mitch Robinson in the trade. They could also just use some draft capital, which is something that they have a fair amount of. They haven't really engaged in too many trades that have gotten rid of a ton of their first round picks. So they do have some options here to acquire someone like Buddy Hield. Outside of that, it's tough. I don't know if the Lakers have the capital or the cap space to acquire him. I don't think the Clippers have the draft capital to acquire him. The Dallas Mavericks may have interest, but any trade that involves Buddy Hield's probably going to see Josh Richardson or Dorian Finney-Smith go the other way. Maybe Josh Richardson is someone they're interested in getting rid of, but again, do the Kings really care to acquire Josh Richardson? I don't know. And of course, then there's going to be Kristaps Porzingis. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis does get flipped to the Kings in a Buddy Hield trade. That's a whole other possible scenario. Again, I'm not saying these scenarios are likely. The Mavericks trade scenarios are going to be tough for Buddy Hield. I don't know how likely it is, but it's just interesting to discuss. Let me know what you guys think about it. Don't flame me in the comments for saying that this is not going to happen. I'm not saying that any of these are very likely to happen. I just like discussing the hypotheticals, seeing what you guys have to say, and just seeing where some of these players could go and what we hope is going to be a very exciting offseason full of some player movement. A Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis swap would be kind of nuts. You see Kristaps Porzingis go to Sacramento. Maybe they don't believe in Marvin Bagley anymore. He's also very possibly getting traded in the near future as well. A lot of interesting scenarios with Buddy Hield this summer, and it is, in my opinion at least, very likely we see him traded in the next 8 to 10 months, or whatever length of months gets us to next year's trade deadline. Let me know what you guys think about a possible Buddy Hield trade, where you think he could end up, and how likely it is to happen. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you do, to help it get out to the rest of YouTube, and to let me know that you guys do enjoy this type of content. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one.